It's fair to say that conveyancing, buying or selling of a house, is described as being the third most stressful thing that you do in your life after a death in the family and divorce or separation. So to that extent, I think one has to prepare oneself a little bit for a stressful event. But as with all these things, the better prepared you are for it, the less stressful it's likely to be.
Buying up house is obviously the largest transaction that anyone's likely to undertake, most people anyway, during their lifetime, and it's not something you can rush into. Depending on whether you're buying or selling influences really what you need to do before you start the process.
And one of the ways of making sure that you don't make it into a stressful occasion is to make sure that you've got good advisors behind you, that you're well prepared.
Before you actually engage on the process to start with, having a professional team, if you like, that you're prepared to put your trust in is critical. So normally the first port of call for people is often an estate agent.
Planning is everything when selling your house. You really need to make sure you've got your idea of where you want to go, what timescale you want to work to, and at what time of year you're going to start the sale process.
I think you need to sort out your finances, perhaps speak to a solicitor before you start even going to an agent and looking at windows, just so you know what the process involves.
As far as buyers are concerned, I would ask them to make sure that they have everything in place before they start.
We recommend that you put a full contract package together with your solicitor, with your estate agent. That includes a draft contract, all the information you will need about guarantees and information about the property, boundary plans, any guarantees you might have for works you've done to the house, building regulations. That means that package can go off to the lawyer on the other side straight away, and we can maintain the impetus of the sale throughout. There is no point in agreeing a sale and then taking 3 weeks to get the contract package together, because the buyer will lose interest. They might see another house then.
And the most important thing would be to make sure you've got your finances in order. I don't think people appreciate how difficult it is to get a mortgage at the moment. Mortgage lenders have tightened up considerably over the past few months, and quite often issues arise for buyers who would think they would have no trouble at all in getting a mortgage approved. If you're a cash buyer, and we do get quite a lot of those, particularly at the top end of the market, it's important to establish where your cash is. It's no use saying you're a cash buyer and then find it's tied up in an offshore account for 3 months, so you can't fulfil the expectations of the seller.
At the moment, it is a buyer's market, and there is a lot of stock of property available, so there's quite a lot of choice for buyers. There is always a compromise, I think, in any house you buy. If there isn't a compromise, then you are in the very top of the market, and you'll be paying for that perfect house.
I think the job of a solicitor is to make the purchaser completely clear as to what it is that they're buying. And to do that, we are very much focused on the legal title. That will clarify the extent of the property. It's surprising sometimes how the boundaries on the ground don't tie up with the boundaries on the plans. So we need to make quite certain the legal title and the property itself coincide. Any rights that might benefit the property, any rights that it's subject to, any restrictions that might prevent you from building an extension, any of those sorts of practical things.
Some searches that we will do as standard: local authority search, drainage and water search, environmental search, chancel check search. But there are several more specialist searches that might be needed, and additional inquiries of the local authority, even on a standard search, such as whether it's registered as common land, whether there are public footpaths crossing the property.
In the current market, if we're selling a house, we expect people to move quickly, so they need to do all they can as the buyers to meet the demands that we will put on them in looking for a quick exchange of contracts.
If you're a seller, you'll have been through the process before, so you know what to expect. We always ask our sellers, if they contact us before the house goes on the market, to come and see us, so that we can go through any likely issues that are going to arise during the course of the sale.
Very often people only contact their solicitor after they've got a buyer, after they've actually made the basic arrangements, and there's then a time delay, there's a lag in between getting your property on the market, finding a buyer, and then actually putting the transaction through. So my main tip, I guess, is speak to your lawyer early so that they can organise all the paperwork that the buyer's solicitor is bound to need.
I would make sure that I've got a good pack in place with all the various transfers and all the various rights, so that I can pass these on to the seller very quickly, and so that they've got a complete package. They can see exactly what it is they're buying and that there are no surprises. It's difficult to say how long the buying and selling process takes because every transaction is different. But we would hope to be able to exchange and complete within, say, 8 weeks of being instructed.
But the reality is it can be an infinite length of time, either short or long, depending on what the parties wish. We have transactions where we have literally exchanged contracts in a day. We have other transactions. Recently we exchanged contracts on behalf of a client with completion set for July of next year, so that's 9 months from now. And that is what the parties wanted. It suits them all and it's a good working arrangement.
I have a saying in the office that if we all look back at the best sales we had, it's always where we had the best open relationship with all parties involved, sellers, solicitors and buyers. You've got to be able to pick up the phone and talk very frankly about anything and everything from the word go.
We make sure we're available all the time. We make sure that we devote a lot of time to it as individual solicitors rather than perhaps getting support staff to do some of the work.
You'll find that you always have an experienced solicitor dealing with the work. We are very proactive. We make sure that we chase the seller for information, that we keep you informed. We have really good relationships with the local agents.
We like working with Michelmores because, rather like Knight Frank, they have teams that can cover every aspect of what you might need from a firm of lawyers. They've got a very good private clients team, they have an exceptionally good conveyancing department, and we know that when we call them or we recommend clients to them that the results will be forthcoming very quickly.
The ability for the lawyer to remain in touch both with the client and hopefully the estate agent, the mortgage broker, the bankers, all the parties to the transaction is critical. So I think from Michelmores' perspective that is an aspect that we are passionate about and would expect to deliver.